Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mercedes Formula One webinar. We really hope that you're enjoying the season so far. We've had some really interesting discussions with our recruiters and students. And we've got a lot more exciting webinars to come over the next few months. So don't forget to go to the webinars page on Gradcracker and register your interest, and also submit any questions that you'd like us to choose from to ask the employers in the future. During the webinar today, our aim is to find out more about Mercedes Formula One. So we'll find out what projects they have worked in, if they're involved in any networking groups, what training and development they've received, and also their future plans. We will then end the webinar by discussing the recruitment process and giving you an idea of how you can be successful. So again, let's start the famous webinar with Mercedes Formula One. Angela, welcome. Thank you for coming back to us. I know you enjoy these webinars, but thank you for joining us again. So Angela is the Early Careers Recruitment Advisor, and this year is joined by the lovely Maddie, the new HR graduate. Angela and Maddie, hi Maddie. Angela and Maddie will be giving us an insight into Mercedes Formula One, the roles which are due to go live on Gradcracker tomorrow, and find out more details about the application process. So just a heads up, everybody who's watching, I know there are a lot of you, so make sure after this webinar you go to the Mercedes Formula One hub on Gradcracker, follow them to be alerted to when the opportunities go live. All the opportunities will be live on Gradcracker by the end of the day tomorrow. We're also joined by Industrial Placements, Amjad, Amy, Gerben and Isabel, who we'll be speaking to very shortly. So, Angela, again, tell everybody who doesn't know, who already should know about Mercedes Formula One.
Well, thank you so much for having us back. We do love this webinar, and it's great to chat to you guys and kind of bring our roles to life.
Absolutely.
So, Mercedes is a high performance sports team where we design, manufacture, test, and race our Formula One cars. It's a really demanding industry, but we love it. And in particular, I love the IP program because I think it's such an amazing way to learn on the job and then go back to your studies and bring your learning back with you. We've had lots of exciting site expansion projects going on. So here in Brackley, our campus is expanding with 2 more buildings, one of which is our new health and well-being building. And at the heart of all of these expansion projects is our sustainability. So, installing solar, having more green space, and just making it a really lovely work environment as well. So yeah, that's kind of our little brief overview.
Perfect. Thanks, Angela. And that always comes across with every webinar that we've done together, the campus and how amazing the site facilities are there. And so that's a really good thing to shout out as well. And when we've been doing our prep sessions over the last couple of weeks, you have mentioned a few times to us about how Investor James Allison, who's the technical director there, is with the students and the industrial placements. And he really looks for some particular qualities that he thinks make students successful in Formula One. So could you just kind of give us an insight into what those qualities are?
Yeah, so I think James is such a passionate and great speaker, and
Yeah,
so he always likes to talk about what kind of person thrives in Formula One because
yeah,
it is a really difficult industry, and it takes somebody who's very determined and very resilient to succeed because not everything works. You can pour your heart and soul into a project, and
yeah,
unfortunately, things don't go well, and you have to pick yourself up and start again. So it's really about people who he likes to call like the eternal optimists. So people who are, glass half full and can really pick themselves up and, have that determination to, you know, try again, try something different, learn from their mistakes and to keep going. It's also something that, you have to be really passionate about because it is a very demanding industry and, there are races at all times of the day because of,
yeah.
where we are internationally. And, there's so many people who just are so passionate and love the sport. So really people who do well have that same shared passion and that helps us work together as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. And our panel are here and just exude everything that you've just mentioned, Angela. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And thank you for the introduction. And Maddie, I'm going to move on to you. So I've just mentioned that the roles are going to go live on your hub on Gradcracker tomorrow.
Mhm.
So give the students who are watching a bit of an overview to what they can expect.
Yeah, of course. So the advertising campaign will start tomorrow. So we're kind of going to be advertising all of our technical placements. So the way we've kind of done it is broken it down into 5 categories this year. So we've got aerodynamics, which is a very popular one.
Yeah.
And we've got engineering, which includes kind of research and development, composite design, powertrain electronics. We then got race team and race strategy, and then also kind of operations, so car build, composite manufacturing, and cost analysis. And then our final one kind of category is performance. So this includes vehicle dynamics, control systems, simulation and modeling, as well as engineering software. So lots of exciting industrial placements opportunities this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you excited, Maddie, because it's your first campaign?
Yes, I am excited. It should be
Good.
good. I think it'll be busy, but it will be exciting, and it'll be nice to meet all the candidates.
Yeah, there's no thinking about it. It's definitely going to be busy. But it's so lovely that you're there to help Angela, look through all the applications. That's really good. So thank you, Maddie. And normally you do have quite a short period when the applications are open. So what is the closing date that students need to bear in mind when they do open tomorrow?
The closing date will be the 30th of September. And we just like to remind candidates that on the 30th of September, it'll be at 11:59 p.m. So 23:59. So please don't try to apply at midnight, because we will be closed at midnight. But just to bear that in mind. So yes, 2 weeks.
That makes Beth Angela, she do say that every year. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. 1 minute
Please
to
don't be
midnight.
in that last minute and miss your opportunity by 30 seconds, please.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't be up at that time anyway. You should be in bed.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Maddie, for the introduction. And Angela, I'm going to stay with you. So we've had a really good question from Zainab, who's studying aerospace engineering at the University of Sheffield. So thank you, Zainab. And she would like to ask, what help is there for relocation?
Okay, yeah. So we have students from, all over the world, all over the UK. And what we like to do is we like to hold a big welcome day to get the students to get to know each other. And then in regards to relocation, we try to get our current cohort of industrial placements in touch with the incoming cohort. So then hopefully there's a bit of a housing kind of handover and at least a contact exchange, so that the landlords are all put in touch with each other. Because, we are a big Formula One factory in a very small market town of Brackley. So we try to help put people in touch with the right people wherever possible.
Fantastic, lovely. Thank you, Maddie and Angela. It's nice, Jess, don't you think, that Angela's not sat on her own this year? It's normally two interns, and then Angela's just on her own. It's lovely that
company.
Yeah, it's lovely that you've got a little friend. Fantastic. So thank you very much. So we'll come back to you both towards the end of the webinar, like I've just mentioned, to discuss the recruitment process, your stance on the use of AI, and lots more, some more fantastic questions from the students as well, who've submitted those before the webinar. So Jessica, my love, I'm going to hand over to you to speak to everybody else who found their jobs through Gradcracker and also watched the world famous webinar last year. Jessica.
Perfect. Thank you, Carla. Amjad, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, where you went to university, what did you study, and why did you choose to study there?
Yeah, of course. So actually, my name's Amjad. I study at the University of Southampton. I study aeronautical and astronautical engineering, specializing in aerodynamics, a ridiculously long and unnecessary name. And yeah, I chose to study that at Southampton because I essentially worked backwards. I love aerodynamics. I knew I wanted to get into that field. So I said, okay, what do you have to do to become an aerodynamicist? You obviously have to study aeronautics at university. And at the time when I was deciding, Southampton had the most specialized aerodynamics modules. So it was simply a case of writing down all the modules that most of the unis did, seeing which one had the most modules that I wanted to specialize in, going there, seeing if I liked it, and then, thankfully I got in.
Amjad, that's just given me a complete insight into your brain and obviously what you are like as a person, which is fantastic. Obviously very thorough, very methodical, which is great. Would you say that's helped you secure the placement with Mercedes Formula One?
I'd say most definitely. I think if I didn't think like this, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. I like I like trying to plan for as many things as possible, and that has its upsides and downsides. But thankfully, one of the upsides is by working backwards, I knew what I needed to achieve.
Yeah.
So I kind of had for me at least, I had a clear path that the majority of people who I wanted to grow up and be, and who I still want to grow up and be, I kind of try to follow the majority path. And obviously, that's not how life works. Everyone can get to anywhere doing anything. That's just the nature of life. But I feel like for certain things, such as applying for an aerodynamics role at Mercedes, is definitely favorable to do what the majority do. And for me, at least, that's study the basics, try and specialize as much as you can, as soon as you can, because by doing that, by taking so many aerodynamics modules, I had a better foundation for the assessment process. And by, for example, researching different societies in my in the different universities, I can see where I should fit in, where would I fit in, and how I can just add my CV, which is at the end of the day what most students try and do.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. That's great. I could just speak to you, just you, for the full hour about what you did and how you did it. But Andrew, just quickly, two things. First thing that comes to mind, did you always know then that you wanted to go into Formula One?
From a young age, pretty much. I think maybe 14.
Really? Wow. So yeah, it was always a goal of yours then. And then secondly, what is your role at the moment at Mercedes Formula One?
Yes, so my role is aerodynamics industrial placement. So what that means is I work as part of the development group, and with the Formula One car, how Mercedes do it, in the aerodynamics department, we split the car into chunks, and I happen to fall into the rear corner chunk. So, for those who don't know, the rear corner is rear suspension, rear cake tin, if you know what that is, the diffuser, and rear corner. So that's the kind of sub-department I'm in, and day-to-days would be lots of CAD, lots of simulations, and lots of report writing, which, if you've done things like Formula Student, you know quite well. But yeah, I enjoy it. I love it, and it's
I was
very
just
much...
about to ask that. Is it as something as you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, no, I think when people apply to Formula One roles, before you get there, it's like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like. Is it crazy? Is it different? My experience is it's everything you thought it would be, just times like 5, let's say. But in the best way possible, obviously.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I'm very grateful that I get to work with the people I'm surrounded by, because they're immensely intelligent, immensely talented, and at the end of the day, your learning just gets accelerated massively if you just dive in and you ask as many questions as you can.
Yeah, perfect. Absolute fantastic introduction there, Amjad. Thank you so much. It probably would make sense for me to come to you next, Isabel, but on my list, I've got Amy. So Amy, I'm going to jump, and then we're going to jump back, and then we're going to jump across again. So Amy, I'm going to come to you next, if that's okay. Similar kind of question. Introduce yourself to the world. Tell us where you went to university and what you studied and why.
Hi, so I'm Amy. I'm studying mechanical engineering at the University of Bath, and I chose to study at the University of Bath because I knew I wanted to do a placement year.
Okay.
And did a lot of research, and I found out that Bath had a very good placement team and a lot of their students go on placements. And for me, that was one of the most important things. And I'm also very into sport, and Bath has excellent sport facilities and a great campus. So it's perfect for me.
Brilliant, and shout out to the Bath placement team. So well done there. And also, Amy, so you said that placement offer was a big drive for you. So was it the idea of going and doing a placement with Formula One, or did you just want to get some experience while studying?
I think just to find out what I wanted to do when I graduate, really, because I think engineering is so broad and there's so many different areas you can go into. I just wanted to experience as many as I can.
Yeah.
And placement's a great way to do that. I think I didn't know about Formula One in particular if I wanted to go into that, but I knew I wanted to do manufacturing engineering on placement. And if you're going to do manufacturing, this is probably the best
Yeah.
place to do it.
Much better than this. Amazing. And how lucky, and obviously the potential that you've got is just incredible that you've got here. So well done to you. But yeah, tell us a bit about your role and what is your job title at the moment? And yeah, what have you been up to? Not in too much detail, because I am going to come back and find out about your project.
Okay. So my role is composite manufacturing industrial placement.
Yeah.
So our team sits in between the design and the manufacturing. So we get the CAD model from the composite design engineers,
Yeah.
and we use that to create what are called ply boundaries, to then create laser projections and kits for the laminators to use, basically to help speed up manufacturing, because our team's main job is to reduce the tunnel to track time, so how quickly it takes parts to go from aero to the track. So
I was going to ask that. Are you related to Amjad's team? So would Amjad, you would do your stuff and then it would come to you, Amy?
No,
No.
I'm much further down the line than Amjad.
Okay.
I think like I'm at probably the other end of the factory.
Okay.
So yeah, we introduce new technologies and ensure quality and things like that into the manufacturing process. So actually the parts getting made at the final end.
Wow. Okay, great. I can't wait to find out more about what you're doing then. So I can imagine there's a lot of pressure, time restraints, getting it done as quick as you can, but obviously doing it to top quality specs. So, can't wait to find out more. So thank you so much, Amy, for that. Gerben, I'm going to come to you next, aka Mike. Many other nicknames we may have for Gerben, and I apologise for already admitting to pronouncing your name wrong. But tell us again, similar kind of questions: who you are, what you do, where you go to university, and what your role is at Mercedes Formula One.
Yeah, so I'm Gerben, also known as Mike, indeed. I'm from the Netherlands, born and raised in Groningen, in the north of the Netherlands. But
Sounds
now,
so much better when you say
Oh, no.
butcher your name, so I do apologise.
no, that's totally all right. That's totally right. That's just being Dutch brings that with you. But yeah, I study in Delft, at Delft University of Technology, aerospace engineering, and I basically ended up there because it's the only place in the Netherlands where you can study aerospace engineering, and this is the type of engineering I always admire to do, because it's quite inspiring to see rockets and planes, and I think to some extent we're all fascinated by those. So that was kind of my motivation, and so I didn't work my way back from Formula One, like how am I going to get there? That was actually not the same process for me. For me, it was more, and I came in at a point where I wanted to see what the kind of highest performing engineering companies look like and how they operate, and learn as much as possible from that. And then pretty quickly you do end up looking at Formula One teams. So that's kind of how my path shaped its way to get me here. And so I guess a bit of a different viewpoint. And then what I do in Mercedes is actually really exciting, because and I've been told that my role is not immediately obvious what I do. So my title is the Dyno IP. Dyno does not stand for dinosaur. It's short for dynamometer, and that might give a clue to some people. But I've written down the definition of dynamometer, because that will make things clear, which is an instrument for measuring mechanical force or power. So you can measure power from, for example, an engine.
Yeah.
But to kind of elaborate on that, when we refer to the dyno within the company, we refer to the dyno building, which is one of the buildings we have on campus, where we have different cells. So we'll have the transmission dyno, we'll have the engine dyno, we'll have the brake dyno, and we have a cell as well to test heat rejection systems. And so basically what we can do there is, that's really exciting part, is we can run our hardware in the most complex and big tests that we do without taking the car to track. So you get to see hardware up close, and we can do that from let's say just the heat system to the gearbox, or a full powertrain, or pretty much a full car. So that's just really exciting to see up close, to be able to do that. And my role in that is to kind of be involved and support that process, improve the tools that we have, support the data analyses from the running that we do, and because it's such an intersection of all the different departments that basically come into the dyno to test their different systems. You get to see the interaction within the company really well.
Yeah.
And that's just, you get to meet a lot of people, and you get a real good image of what goes into making a Formula One car and getting it to track, and see all of its imperfections before it's actually on the tarmac. So
Yeah, and what great exposure, and what a fantastic place to do it. It must be so incredible to be, again, at that forefront of, pushing to the limit, pushing to the boundaries all the time, and going over the boundaries and getting that experience. And Gerben, if you don't mind me saying, again, brief, how we've met each other so far in our prep sessions and stuff like that, you do seem quite a competitive character.
do I?
Just say
Okay.
you are.
I don't know what gave you that impression.
It was the sign before the webinar I gave. It's like, who looks best?
Who's
Is
saying?
it Isabel and Amjad's or mine?
But why I say that, because I mean that with the most love. I think it's great to be competitive. But would you say that's helped to get you where you are now, and to get the role that you're in, to having that competitive streak in you?
I would, yeah, definitely. I mean, I am competitive by nature. Like, we went bowling last Monday, and I did really want to win. But I think it's more kind of I think it's a trait you'll see more throughout the company, which is just focused on continuously improving and trying to do better than you did yesterday, and helping the other people around you to do better every day, and make the processes and the things that we design better every day. Because in the end, that's what it means for us to.
I
as
love
we
that.
take
You
every
couldn't have answered that any better, by the way. And that was not even planned to the audience. That wasn't on the script, but yeah, that was absolutely beautifully put. So yeah, great. And good. I think Angela, you were nodding along, and so you, Maddie. But yeah, that is a reflection of you guys as well, isn't it? That's the kind of person, that we've met. Of course, everyone, Isabel, I am coming to you eventually. But what we've met so far is that, again, that teamwork, passion, that drive to be the best, which is great. Yeah. Isabel, finally, I do apologise. I keep shouting your name. But finally coming to you. Similar questions. Tell me and everyone else where you went to university, what you studied, why, and your role, and everything else.
Hi, so I'm Isabel. I still go to Imperial College London, and I studied mechanical engineering there. And I chose Imperial mainly because, and some of the other IPs might disagree, I wanted to go to the best university I could for my course, and I don't know, I do recommend. And for me, that was Imperial. I also grew up in London, so I was very comfortable staying in London, and the facilities and opportunities that Imperial could offer for me were, I did a bunch of research into them, and I thought, wow, this is the place for me. It has a lot of hands-on experience that they offer, which I was really interested in. So yeah, it's kind of
amazing. Well done. Yeah. You got your first target, so you're at Imperial, you're doing what you want to do. And then, so tell us a bit about, why Mercedes Formula One. What was your driver then to apply to them? Were you always, wanting to do Formula One, or?
Yeah, so I chose to study mechanical engineering because I wanted to work in Formula One, and specifically I wanted to do strategy. And looking at the teams on the grid, I obviously you want to work with the best team you can. Yes. And Mercedes, one of the most successful teams of all time, most successful, I would say, in recent years. And so it just became quite an obvious choice for me. And the department here, I do race strategy. The race strategy department here are lovely, and there's a lot of resources I can use. So, yeah.
Yeah. And would you say similar to kind of what everyone else has said, but again, that exposure, the team, getting those experiences, have you found that so far in your placement that you could get that?
Yeah, it's very different to what I expected coming in, but I feel like compared to some other roles, race strategy is less obvious as to what we actually do, because we're quite far removed from designing the car and what you kind of imagine when you think about what an F1 team does. And it can seem quite confusing to people from the outside what the differences are between race strategy, race engineering. And so it was definitely coming into the role slightly different to what I expected, but in a good way. And everyone in the department is super helpful, super super willing to teach me things and for me to learn and develop as an engineer and a strategist.
Love it. Well done as well. Sounds amazing. And next, I want you all to cast your mind back to the first week at Mercedes Formula One. And I want to know a bit more about how did you prepare, what happened, and how did you get yourself through it? Because I can imagine it was a little bit nerve-wracking knowing that you'd got the job and it was going to be the first week. So I'm going to come back to you with that one. So let me know how you prepared for your first week. I can imagine from what you've said, you were really organised.
Well, let me flip that on its head.
Oh, really? Come on, tell us.
There really is nothing you can do, and I think both Angela and Maddie are a big advocate for saying that, you know, you've got the role, you've done the hard work. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty more hard work, but until that happens, you just relax. Don't stress. You've done the stressing. There is genuinely nothing you can do, because even if you try, even let's say you somehow know what software you're going to use, you try and learn that software, all you're going to do is teach yourself bad practice. And it's obvious, it's so much harder for someone to undo bad habits rather than just to learn the proper way from scratch. Genuinely, if anyone really did want to try something, it would just be to know your basics. Do what you did for your interview. So for example, I'm just going to use aerodynamics because that's where I come from. If you're sitting there, you've got the role and you're wondering, how can I, really hit the ground running? Just make sure you know your fundamentals. Make sure you still have the knowledge you had when you applied for the role, because it's probably going to be 6 months, probably a lot longer, from when you get the role to when you actually your first day on campus. So all I would do is just make sure you're up to scratch on your basics and you have the same level of knowledge and understanding you did when you applied for the role.
Yeah, definitely. Isabel, would you reflect that as well? Would you say that that's how you prepared? And
I remember when I was at the start, I was very much scared when I joined because my first week was the week of the Austrian Grand Prix. So I was very nervous. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, and I didn't know how to prepare. And I remember asking my boss, I was like, what should I prepare? He was like, there's nothing you really need to prepare. Just come in and be willing to learn and be well rested. And he made good points. And everything I've needed to know, I've been taught. And there's no judgment if I get things wrong, if I make a mistake. And I truly don't think there would have been any way for me to learn how to do my role before I got here, because it's so much of it is learning from other people and asking questions. And you can't do that before you join.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, because I think we get asked this question a lot, and I think you want to think, how can I make sure that I'm going to put myself in the best position? But I think you've absolutely nailed it there. I think actually it's making the most of it whilst you're there and asking those questions, getting yourself involved, and also putting your hands up saying, I don't know this, I need some help, or actually, yeah, I do, and I'd love to get involved in that. So yeah, I think that's a really great point. So thank you so much, Isabel. And Gerben and Amy, similar kind of question. How was your experience? So Amy, I'll come to you first on that. How did you prepare? What did you do within your first week? Was there anything particular that you did?
Well, I was a bit nervous to start, to be honest. Because I hadn't watched F1, so I didn't really know much about F1. So I felt a bit out of my depth. So I applied and got into the Accelerate 25 mentoring scheme, which is with Mercedes Formula One team and AFBE. And I had a mentor for 6 months before I joined, someone who works here in a different department to what I was joining. But I found that incredibly helpful just to build my confidence. We went through like my strengths and weaknesses, and he taught me a lot about F1 because he's been in the industry for a long time. And I even came up to Brackley and I got a tour of his department and I met my manager. And I just think that for me was really helpful because I was very nervous.
Yeah.
But it was nothing technical because, like the other said, you can't learn the technical stuff before joining.
Yeah. So did you say, Amy, can I put myself in this situation? Can you help me? Or Angela, Maddie, is that something you would offer to anyone that maybe did apply and was successful that didn't have much knowledge? Or is that quite common that they would get that experience that Amy had?
So when we have our welcome day, that's typically a good opportunity to talk to your managers outside of the interview process. So it's really nice to kind of have that time before you start, ask any questions, be able to talk to other people in the department as well, because it's usually not just your hiring manager, it might be somebody else you'll be working with as well. And that's a really nice way to kind of bridge that gap, because like they were saying, sometimes it's a long time before you actually join. So
yeah.
you want to make sure that you're up to scratch and you feel that you have all the information that you need before you join. But yeah, that's like a nice piece, and it's really nice that Amy kind of went above and beyond and applied for that program and really like got into it.
Ah, brilliant. So you actually had to apply for that as well, did you? That's good again, like you say, that you put yourself in that situation, think I want to learn more. Would you say now, Amy, you are an F1 fan?
I am now an F1
Yeah,
fan.
Yeah.
Definitely.
absolutely no brainer. Oh, great. No, that's really, really good. And Gerben, similar question to you. Did you have a similar kind of experience maybe in your first week?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what everyone's been saying is definitely true. No one expects you to know really anything when you come in on the job, except for your fundamental engineering knowledge. That's no different for anyone. What I really enjoyed is the first couple of weeks, my managers were very clear. Just acclimatize and absorb and open your ears and your eyes to everything around you. And very importantly, just make sure you meet a lot of the people and explore all of the facilities that we have, because for many of us, you'll be coming to a big company for the first time and you'll realize that there's so many people around you that it's important to get to know these people and to have an understanding of where they sit in the organization. So it was really nice to kind of have the first week to scope that out. And I think one of the big benefits as well is that we have some overlap with our predecessors. So my predecessor Jean-Luc, he was very keen to just show me around the things he had been doing and the people he had met and the facilities that he makes use of. And that's just a very, easy way to get into it all. And so that was really enjoyable as well. And I mean, there's that kind of professional aspect that we obviously have, but the previous IPs, they were very helpful in the social sense as well, with all the welcoming events they had organized in Berkeley, and just pretty much, I think every night there was something going on.
I was there. Oh, that's nice though, isn't it? You feel as though
and that just really helps to kind of bond with the group from the get-go. So that was very
So
cool.
do you guys see a lot of each other throughout the kind of the 12, 13 months? Or do you find that after your first week, maybe you won't see everyone, or do you kind of socially see each other still?
I mean, generally we have lunch and dinner at the same time, so most of us will we just share many of the meals, and then obviously we'll do many social things outside of that, and everyone's obviously free to come and go, and so you'll see some people almost every day and some people you see once or twice every couple of weeks. But for sure there's loads going on, loads of support as well, which is really enjoyable.
And you'll probably be friends for life. Again, it's all about networking, isn't it? Creating that network whilst you're there, making the most out of it, because you never know in the future. You might want to make that phone call, and you never know what might happen. So it's good to create those relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very super enjoyable. It's good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so next I want to have a bit of a dive into the projects, and I want to find out as much gossip as I can from you all. So Amjad, I'm going to come to you. Angela's always like, Jessica. But yeah, Amjad, I'm going to come to you.
Angela and Maddie are sitting up like.
I know, she's like, Jessica, be careful. Tell us a bit about the projects that you've been involved in, Amjad, if that's okay. But don't get yourself into trouble.
No, if I say too much, Angela will come through the door.
She will come through the wall. Never mind the door.
Like I alluded to earlier, I'm part of the rear corner team. So in aerodynamics, you have quite a few sub-departments, more than someone would think actually. You've got the front end, so that's front wing and front suspension. You have mid-car, which is bodywork, side pod, front floor. Then you've got rear, which is rear corners, which is the sub-department I'm in, rear floor diffuser, and then you've got rear wing and future cars. They're kind of, yeah, that's like a, you know, they do the wacky stuff, the crazy stuff. Let's try and break as many rules as possible and we'll suffer later, sort of thing. But yeah, it's what I do, like I said, it's a lot of CAD. Can't design without CAD. Then once you think you've designed something, you send it off to, you know, the wacky supercomputers. I'm not even going to try and understand them. They come back with all these pretty pictures, which we call CFD post-pro. CFD stands for computational fluid dynamics, or can't find downforce, whatever you pick. And after that, it's very much assimilating information. What you've created design, what are your intents? Why do you want this? What do you want this design to do? And if it works, great. If it doesn't, probably even better, because you can actually troubleshoot your own design, and you can. It's very collaborative. You know, a lot of people think there's like a row of us and we're all doing our own designs, but it's very much, you know, we're turning around, we're going, oh, you know, what's your opinion on this? Or do you think this is correct? And then it's an extremely iterative loop. You do many variations. If you end up on a good design, it gets sent to the wind tunnel. And the wind tunnel is where you actually get real life data. You know, CFD simulations are one thing, but to try and correlate them to real life, that's where the money's made, I guess.
And what's it like having that experience?
Yeah.
In the winter, and I bet that's amazing to see it.
No, it's surreal. It's the facilities are second to none, and it's kind of like, you know, looking up to this industry as a kid. When you're in the wind tunnel and you see all these fancy equipment, yeah, it can't really get much better than that.
I bet it's a pinch yourself moment, thinking, I can't believe what I'm actually looking at, that I'm stood here. And what would you say, gaining this kind of such top end experience, how you feel as though you're going to apply that when you go back to uni next year?
I'll definitely be waking up earlier. I think my body clock's definitely wired for 6 a.m. wake ups now. But no, it's I guess with anything in life, if you learn something and it's drilled into you hard enough through experience, you'll carry some of these hard or soft skills. So the things I'm learning about aerodynamic theory, when I go back to university, I'm planning on doing a similar design project where we will be using Southampton's own wind tunnel. So all of these processes and all of these like little things you wouldn't know as a student unless you go into such a competitive industry. All these things I can bring back with me, and hopefully I can look out for the same things. If things go wrong, I can be like, oh, this is what, you know, someone told me a couple of months ago. Let's see if this works. So it is very much, especially if you're going back into a similar degree to your role, you know, almost everything's transferable.
Yeah, definitely. Isabel, to come to you on that, because obviously you made the point at the beginning that you knew you wanted to at least do a placement. How do you feel now that you're into it and thinking what you've learned on the projects and stuff you've been on, and how you can apply that in your final year?
So, well, the projects that I've been on won't directly apply to what I'll do back at uni in the way that Amjad's will, because it has more CAD and actual aero work, whereas at uni we're not really doing race strategy. But I think I'm getting a lot better at coding than I was before I got in. So that will certainly be helpful, but also working in a collaborative environment, because especially in race strategy, we're constantly talking to each other during the race, before, and during like the whole lead up to an event. So for example, this weekend is Baku, and we're already working on it. We've been working on that race and talking to each other for days, weeks now. And it's very exciting. I do enjoy it a lot. And I think that's the main thing that I'll take out of it, being able to work in a collaborative environment And and just communicating with my own department and with other departments and getting what they need from them and giving them anything that they need. Yeah.
But these are so important skills, Abigail, aren't they? Abigail, whoever that comes from, Isabel, sorry, I don't know, Abigail. Isabel, because Carla, like, you know, again, on these job descriptions across lots of different industries, when we're looking at job descriptions, nearly every single employer says that, you know, these are key requirements: being a good communicator, being collaborative. And you've got first-class evidence to say you can do that now. And it is just so great how it's going to open you up to consider so many different things by what you've learned within your degree. And yes, it's the technical stuff, but those soft skills are so important as well, aren't they?
Yeah, second to none.
Absolutely. You see it on all of the job descriptions. So it's great skills to gain.
Isabel, as well, I was going to say, like,
Yeah.
I hope, like, with Isabel and Amjad's examples, like, when they're pushing the boundaries and what they're working on, they're real projects. You know, you're not given some like little side project to work on. You're fully fledged members of the team working on amazing projects, and you know, having that participation to make an impact on the car is just like dream come true, and it's so amazing. And I'm always so astounded by some of the amazing work that they get done in just like a short period of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
And Amjad, you touched on that again, you know, being asked to build something, do you know what I mean? And getting something to turned around in a short space of time and saying, right, okay, on to the next, you know, kind of project or next design. It must be a bit nerve-wracking. Was you expecting that so early on in the placement?
It is, but at the same time, you're, as I will say for the rest of my life, I think the people at Mercedes are incredible. There's, I was telling Maddie on my first week, I've never seen this many nice people in a single
I
place.
can vouch for that. He did say that to me.
And honestly, and it's, you know, you are surrounded by the best of the best. And I say that in the most literal and maybe abstract sense. They know their stuff, but they're so willing to relay that knowledge onto you.
Yeah.
And like I said, it is really a case of making the most of it. You ask the questions, you put the work in, and you put the questions in, you'll get the answers and the work out. And I think everyone will say the same.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a lot of nods. And well, Andrew, that's down to you and your team overall, recruiting nice, lovely people. So you guys.
Maddie's nodding.
Mercedes, who they are today. It's fantastic. Amy, I'm going to come to you next, because before you know it, it's going to be 3 o'clock. I just want to stay for another hour and I don't want to go. Amy, so yeah, is there any particular project that you want to talk about in detail?
Well, I'm still doing training mainly.
Okay. Well, let's talk about training.
Yeah, I can do.
What's about training?
So I'm doing the same training that the other members of my team did when they joined, which I think is an amazing opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting trained to the same level as actual employees, which I think is just incredible. And I've started doing a few parts that are actually going to be going on the car soon. So that's also an amazing feeling, because I'll be able to see my work on the car, and it just shows that we are doing actual work. Like, I've not done any IP work, I've just done exactly the same that the people in my team do. So that's really great.
You must be so proud of yourself.
Well,
you must be there. You must be like, oh my goodness, look how great I'm doing.
It is very cool. I think the coolest thing that I've done so far is, in my first month, I got the opportunity to laminate parts in the clean room. So that's like actual laying up composite parts, which was just an incredible opportunity, because the laminators we have here are like the best in the world. So just being able to learn from people like that is just an incredible opportunity.
Right, Amy, don't get yourself into trouble here, but for someone like me, what does that mean? Laminating parts in the clean room, what does that mean?
So composite parts are made by my hand, and carbon fiber comes in layers, pre-preg carbon fiber comes in layers. So what my team does is we cut them out in the correct shapes, and we project lasers to show the laminators where to place them. And the the laminator just place the layers of the carbon fiber in specific orientations and in specific locations, and then that gets, it's called bagged, gets put under a vacuum and gets put in autoclaves and alter like an order that we give them, if that makes sense.
Amy, you sound like you know what you're doing, love. That sounds great. And so in terms of then, did you have any experience of doing stuff like this before in your degree? Or is this, again, a completely new experiences that you're working on new projects?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get taught in my degree at the University of Bath
No.
yet. I think it does maybe in my final year, but definitely not in my first and second year. And
Wow.
I've done some carbon fiber layup, if you will, in Formula Student, but it's very
on this-
not to the standard here.
Yeah, I can imagine. Incredible stuff. Again, it just replicating what Angela said in terms of, again, getting those hands-on experiences, isn't it? You're not stood in the back, watch someone else do it with a cup of tea. You know, you are doing it yourself and responsible for it, which is incredible. So well done, Amy, to you. Honestly, such an amazing journey so far. And Gaben, since you, in terms of training or development, is there anything in particular that you've been involved in, or even maybe a project?
Well, in terms of training and development, I think in the first couple of weeks, you get some of the basic training in terms of like we have our pride values and the kind of the HR, health and safety. So you go through all of this and you'll see that when you see it. But what I think what was pretty cool for me is when you get the kind of more specific training. So for example, we have a ERS safety briefing, for example. So that's like how to handle the high voltage components of the powertrain. And that's just really quite interesting to hear, because you wouldn't generally get a training on that just anywhere. And I think in terms of the development, what I've already found, because it's still pretty early on for us, but what I found really powerful and what I've enjoyed so far is kind of the mentoring scheme that we have. So everyone in our department or in the DO, I think, is assigned a mentor. So there's someone else in the company that's not directly involved with what you do, but you can just kind of chat and have a conversation about, you know, how it's going and what you want to learn or where you want to go. And, you know, that's just been very helpful for me to kind of figure out from people who have been in my position before, like how they treated their opportunities and why they made certain decisions. And like I get to learn from them as well. And if you really just take a proactive stance in that, that really is one of the ways to kind of crisscross through the company and really learn about all different roles that you could have. So that's been really good.
And it sounds as though, again, it's a similar message coming from all of you, as I would expect, that again, just that support, you've got it. If you need to ask, you can ask, and you know, you're supported literally from day one to the end of the placement. Finally, you've kind of touched upon this already, Gavin, but the kind of other side of the placement, maybe the social side, you know, any extracurricular activities, I guess, that you could get involved in. Have you been doing anything else whilst you've been at Mercedes?
I mean, I've done just joined quite a few events, I would say. There's some of which I haven't been involved but some others might have been in the school. But you know, for example, we play like a five-a-side league with the IPs on Wednesday night. I think
Cool, yeah.
Fridays there's always like Mercedes football, side football, which is really popular as well. I haven't gotten myself into that yet, but maybe down the line. What else is there? There's so many run clubs, so many cycle clubs. So I'm going to join one of those later on as well.
You need to download the app as well. Did you download the app that you talked about the other day, you guys? Was there a running app or something you were talking about?
Strava. That one. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah. There's loads of good Mercedes running routes on Strava, I think. But yeah, like and all the stuff we do with the IPs, I think for this weekend we're planning a trip and these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely.
All the time. So I think maybe did one of you go volunteering as well at all? No, maybe Angela wants to.
So sometimes on a Wednesday there's a volunteer group and
nice.
it's a community outreach. So the IPs will will go and help serve meals to members of the public who come in, and it's a bit of a nice sociable aspect as well. So yeah, really nice, and all based here in Brackley, and it's just a nice community outreach thing. So, you know, lots of different things to get involved in. And yeah, as I said, like there's so many sports things going on.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So it's just like, you know, Formula One, and then also competitive sport in some forms.
Well, it goes hand in hand, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And also about the campus, Angela, you mentioned that, and it's weird because I actually drove past you guys not that long ago, and I couldn't believe how big you guys are now and how great it all looks. But so you are developing the campus. You've got a wellness area, just say, as well, and
So
lots of
yeah,
new
so we're
things
getting a
going
new
on.
health and wellbeing building. So
That's it, yeah.
that'll house our new on-site cafeteria. We have a whole new gym, big meeting space. So yeah, really, really nice to have that building. Because I think most people when they drive by think that we're only like the building that you can see from the roundabout, whereas in fact we
Yeah, I
are
think that's
like
what I thought
quite a bit
then.
further down. So yeah, so lots of buildings. So there's a lot of construction. It's very exciting. But yeah, we'll be happy when it's all done as well.
I bet.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Carla. Well, we'll hand back to you because we've got really how we need to do it and what we need to do next, isn't
We've got
it?
lots to cover.
We've got lots to
Yeah,
cover.
yeah.
Angela and Maddie sitting up going, "Whew."
Right,
But yeah,
come on.
thank you, everybody. It's been an amazing webinar so far. So like we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, the roles are going to be live on Gradcracker tomorrow. So don't forget to follow Mercedes Formula One to be alerted when those opportunities do open. So now what I would like to do is come back to Maddie and talk about the application process. So once the job description is on Gradcracker, scroll down to the bottom, click apply. What is the application process from then on?
Yeah, of course. So I think something that we want to reiterate is that you have to submit your CV and cover letter as one PDF document to begin with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the initial part of the application process. And then you'll kind of have some pre-application questions that will kind of ask you a little bit about your degree, obviously, about your graduation date, so that we know that it's kind of applicable to do a placement year. And then it will also ask you about kind of extracurricular activities that you've done, and just kind of some other questions that we could kind of get to know you kind of beyond your CV a little bit more, which is nice. And like you said, our advertising window is very short, so it is only for 2 weeks. So yeah, we just kind of recommend to get your application in as soon as possible, really. And then from that stage, if you were to be eligible, then you go through to kind of testing, and it's kind of different for each role that you apply to, depending on kind of the technical ability of the role and the testing from there. So yeah, it's quite exciting. And then you have 7 days to complete your kind of testing window as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very tight deadlines, obviously.
Yes.
Formula One. So can a student apply to more than one opportunity, or should they just focus on the specific one?
Yes, so they can apply to more than one. So some of the kind of opportunities, like I mentioned earlier, that they're in kind of categories, they can overlap almost. So we just recommend applying to the ones that you're most passionate about. But if that's more than one, then that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Just bear in mind that if you do apply to more than one, you might have to take a few technical tests.
Yes.
That's what you're signing yourself up to.
They're tailored to each kind of role that you go to. You might have to do more than one.
Yeah.
So you're not going out too lightly on that.
Be warned, be warned. Lovely, thank you. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you do have a stance on the use of AI, and Angela, you're going to cover this.
Yeah, so authenticity is really important to us, and you know, we know that AI is really developed and a lot of people use it as a tool. We would always advise you to just use it as a tool. Don't let it form the entire basis of your application. You know, we have real people reviewing all applications and CVs. We can spot the AI input from a mile off, you know, so it's really important that you get across your authentic experiences and your detail around that. So yeah, please just only use it as a tool if at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's two main points there, Angela. The fact that it is a human reading your CV, reading your cover letter. It's Maddie and Angela, you know, who sat there reading through everything themselves, not putting them through any AI software or whatever you would call it. So definitely make sure that you come across in your application. And now what I'd like to do is go back to Amy, if I can. So I've had a lovely question from Maya at the University of Southampton. And she asks, looking back at your application, what do you think made your application stand out to the others?
So I think what makes an application stand out is, like in general, is showing the characteristics that Mercedes want to see in the actions that you do, instead of just saying that you have those characteristics. And I think for me, last summer I wanted to do an internship at CERN, but I missed the application deadline. And instead of just giving up on that, I got a scholarship with the Royal Academy of Engineering to fund the internship so that I could travel to and live in Switzerland. And then I reached out to people who worked at CERN to organize the internship myself, which meant that I got to focus the internship on what I wanted to learn, which for me was composites and material testing. And I think this showed Mercedes not only that I was very interested in composites and had the technical understanding, but also that I was very resilient and able to take initiative.
Yeah.
Oh,
You never give
well
up.
done, Amy.
Never give up.
That's so good. I love that. That is honestly,
Yeah.
because I think that it comes from such a great place, because I think a lot of students think, do I have to know everything about Formula One? Do I have to have done Formula Student and all this kind of stuff? So I'm so glad that you actually answered that question, because I think there's so many people listening would think, oh, am I going to be at a disadvantage? And you've just given such a great example there. If you're passionate, if you want to do something, go and do it, and then look where it's led you to now. It's opened doors for you, hasn't it? So I just, oh, love it. Well done, you. I think it's
Amy, you've
great.
missed Jess's year, so thanks for that. Absolutely, though, and it just
Anyone
shows that
can
you've
do
got,
it.
drive, determination,
Yeah.
stickability. I don't know if that's the word, but my teacher used to say that when I was at school. So well done, Amy. That's absolutely brilliant. And Angela, did you want to add anything for that? We've got some fantastic interns, industrial placements here. What made their applications stand out to you last year whilst you were sat there reading through 11,000 of them?
So I think it's one of those, it's really hard because on paper, like there's so many brilliant students and they have brilliant grades and they have brilliant experiences, but the people who really have strong applications are the ones who are able to evidence all these key qualities that we're after, because really they're looking to tell us about the situations that they've experienced and then how they tackled them. So how they thought through the process, how they fix things when things went wrong. You can't just tell people about all the good examples when everything went swimmingly, because that's not real life. Tell us about, tricky situations, how you had to overcome it and how you had to then learn from it so it didn't happen in the future. And yeah, I just say evidence, evidence, evidence. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Formula One focused. Whatever you are passionate about, we want to see that passion. We want to know what drives you. We want to know, like, okay, this idea has really sparked an interest in you. How does that relate to your studies? How does that relate to your work? How can you bring that here to us? And that's something that I would always say to the candidates: talk about what you're passionate about, because that's when you'll really start to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what we said before the webinar as well. Just be yourselves and just talk from the heart. And it always comes across with Mercedes Formula One that you are so passionate and it's so genuine as well, that it does come across. And that positivity leads me on to the best question that we've had so far in the webinars, I think, throughout the years that we've been asking the students the questions. So Neymar from the University of London and Angela asked you specifically, because you are famous, what is it like to know that you've potentially hired somebody who's helped create a world championship car? Isn't that amazing? I love that question.
That is a beautiful question. And I think it's really nice because it leads me on to basically my favorite part of my job, which is giving the IPs that phone call to let them know that they've got the job. And I'm going to pick on Amjad here because his call in particular really stands out. It's just one of those joyous and fulfilling moments where you can just tell that, years of hard work and passion has just come to an absolute head in this joyous moment. So, I called Amjad and I said, "You've got the role." And I can't even reenact the joy that came out of it. It was so beautiful and so moving. And that's something that, really stuck with me. And, all of the IPs, I'm so proud of them. They've just done amazing work and I know they'll do amazing things. So yeah, definitely the best part of my job.
Are you going to let Maddie do some of those calls this year, Angela?
Oh yeah.
I've
Oh,
done
yeah.
Oh,
some of them
yay.
already.
Yeah. Maddie's done some of them
Yeah.
already.
Oh,
They are just the best calls in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're making people's dreams come true. I know that sounds a bit
Yeah.
cheesy, but you definitely are, right? You know, you start at the starting point, doing a placement with Mercedes Formula One. I mean, you can't get much better than that, I don't think. But lovely. Thank you very much, Maddie and Angela, and everybody else for joining us on today's webinar. Thank you, Jess. You've been amazing as always. So don't forget, like I mentioned before, the roles will be on the Mercedes Formula One live Mercedes Formula One hub tomorrow. So don't forget to follow them to be alerted by email and push notification. And this webinar will be live, that's what I was going to say, on the Mercedes Formula One hub this afternoon. And all the bite-sized chunks as well will be available for you to go and look back at tomorrow before you get your application in. Remember, you know, you've watched this webinar, you've taken lots of useful hints and tips from everybody. Maddie and Angela want to see that you've shown the interest, you know, you've done your research, so make sure you reference the Gradcracker webinar as well. They'll be looking for that in their application. So thank you, everybody. Join us on Thursday, which is the 18th of September, 2 o'clock, where Soph and Jessica will be speaking to global consultancy firm Stantec. So we'll hopefully see you then. But for today, good luck with your applications when they open tomorrow, and we'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thank you,
Take care,
everyone.
everybody.
Well
Thank you so
done.
much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.